Hey, I'm Ryan McRae, a voracious reader, inspiring writer, and today I want to talk to you about short stories. Not a lot of people get into short stories. We're not really buying a ton of anthologies, but I have to say, in the past year, I've just been gorging myself on short stories. And I want to talk to you about if you're looking to get into reading and just need a quick bite of a story and just really see some creative work, I cannot recommend short stories to you enough. And if you're looking to be a writer, I really think you should start writing short stories instead of that novel you're trying to get done, because short stories really teach the craft of writing a scene, making great characters, and just putting someone on a quick emotional journey. So let's get started. When it comes to short stories, there's a lot of varieties. As I've been kind of going through the library and the bookstores, independent, thank you, and being like, hey, what are the short story collections out there? And I have found that especially in the science fiction and fantasy, people are writing short stories about the worlds that they've already made. So, for instance, Neil Shusterman wrote Scythe. It's one of my favorite books. Highly recommend. This isn't a video about this, but love this book. He wrote three, it was a nice trilogy. He wrote three of them, and he just had ideas that were left over. And so what he did is he wrote Gleanings, which is just a short story collection in the Scythe universe. And he said, I just had these little stories burning in my brain. They couldn't fit in the books that I was reading or the books I was writing. And so I wrote Gleanings, and I've started it. I've gotten about 5 of the stories done and really enjoyed it. They're quick. And what happens is when you do this, when you write in that universe, you can do as much world building. You can kind of enjoy the world even more and see facets of it that the 3 books or the 1 book, whatever it is, isn't going to let you experience. So it's the remnants in the author's head. One I just got back from a cruise. Notice the tan. I don't have a tan. But I just decided to pick up, if I'm going to get into short stories, why don't I read the best of them? So I picked up the best short stories from the O. Henry Prize winners. So every short story in here is just a great collection of just really award-winning stuff. And I've read about 5 of these as well, and I keep track by I don't know how hard this is to see, but I'll just kind of write in the margins here or in the table of contents that I read it, and I just say what the theme was, just so later on I can kind of check that out. So the video got dark a little bit. That's right though. But really enjoyed this. These are really nice to read on vacation because I could start a short story and finish it quite quickly. Maybe sit for a half hour, 45 minutes, and just enjoy it. And then when I was done, boop, on to the next cruise event or probably the next meal that I was going to have. So your boy likes to eat on cruises. One I've found that's very different when it comes to short stories. So maybe you're thinking, hey, I don't like, the world ends, period, and then I'm out of that world forever. Adrian Tchaikovsky, he just writes so much. I need to get into him, but I've started The City of Last Chances. I was reading this. I went on the cruise, and I want to bring this chunker. I set it down, and I just found it underneath a pile of papers. So there you go. City of Last Chances. It is just about a fantasy setting set in a gritty city where just people are vying for power. And people are going to fight me on this. I'm like, that's not a book of short stories. You're liar, liar, pants on fire. It is, though. So you read the first chapter, and it's about one character and their point of view. The next story is about a secondary character in that short story you just read from their point of view, and on and on. And I need to get deeper into it, but it started to build on itself. So it'll start to come back to a character that maybe you read 12 short stories about. And then it's chronological, so the world builds and builds. Now you might be thinking, Ryan, it's called a novel, my dude. I do understand that. But there's multiple protagonists. There's multiple objects of desire for them, and you're starting to uncover a sort of conspiracy that they're all going to join up with. But the way it's set, it reads like short stories because something significant happens to each person as they go. Yeah, I'm I'm really enjoying it. This might be a great one to listen to on audiobook, just because of the characters and whatnot. So I'm a big audiobook fan. And audiobooks count as reading, because if they don't, you're wrong. And then because I love science fiction and fantasy, that's the main genre I read, it's the main genre I write. Science fiction and fantasy, just a nice, these are the award-winning stories just from the various magazines and publications. And again, I just put little check marks there just so when I pick this up again, I'm like, where was I? I tend to read top to bottom, like we're going to just bang these out. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe an exception if there's an author I really love, but I've never really jumped around. I don't mood read my short stories. Get them down there. I find that with short stories, you have a lot of unexpected twists. I find that the writers can be so much more creative, but also there's a density to it. So when you're reading and writing when you're reading a short story, there is a density to it. Like every sentence matters. It's very careful. There's no info dumping. So an example of info dumping would be like, these chonkers like Brandon Sanderson's. I love him. I'm going to talk about you later, Brandon. I'm going to talk some smack though too. Info dumping here is like, let's learn about this vast world. You might not need to know this information now, but it's very tour guide. Like, let me take you, like, this is the new land and this is what it's about. Short stories don't have that. They're very, hey, this is what it's about. The microscope is just turned up on someone's life. And either they're just a defender of the pond, someone comes into their life and they're trying to manage it, or, they're a fish out of water. They've landed somewhere and they're trying to manage the new world they're in. And it helps me as a writer analyze sentences, see the plot structure, see, how is this story built, and who is it meant for? What is the message it's trying to say? With these short stories, you just get a lot of just bang for your buck as far as an enjoyable story that's bite-sized, that you can just really sink your teeth into and just get lost in. And not lost for very long. And if you don't like that short story, it's an easy quit, but also you can simply just keep going and see what the payoff is, what the message is, and see how that protagonist does, and just learn from it that way and say, hey, this isn't my type of genre, and now so you got a little sample like at Costco. You're like, that's not for me. But if you really like that genre, you really like that author, I'm sure they have other works to explore. So it's just a great way just to sample. Or if you want to get back into a world, Naomi Novak just came out with her book. It's right here. And it's about all her worlds. And yeah, and that's also a fantastic read. So that is my plug for short stories. I think, especially if you're just getting into reading, if maybe you have some attention issues like this nerd, short stories are just great to start just diving into. The commitment level is so low. Like if you're going to just start with like Robert Jordan's Eye of the World, like, girl, back off that. Like start your reading habit doing, small reps as far as short stories go. And I think you'll really enjoy it. Hey, if you like this content, if this is your jam, if I've at all educated you or entertained you, I'd love if you hit that like and subscribe. I just want to put out more videos like this, and I like when people leave comments about what they're reading. So in the comments, tell me like maybe a short story, or maybe you've read Gleaning, something like that. I want to hear from you. And that's about all I have, and I will catch you later. Keep reading, keep writing.